welcome to this edition of News Leader on 6. I'm Andrew Todd. In tonight's news, the City of Tullahoma celebrates the 70th anniversary of AEDC. We continue our coverage of the Hands-On Science Center reopening on Saturday, and we conclude our series on the most recent Lunch and Learn from D.W. Wilson. We'll have all these stories and more on tonight's News Leader on 6.
I am tremendously blessed to be living at Parkview and very happy to be part of a loving and caring community.
Best thing you can say is this really a great place to live. That's all there is to it, no doubt about that.
It's your home. You just do what you would if you were at your private home. You know, we love it. It's great.
It's just like having a whole neighborhood around you, and it's fun.
It's just a great place to live.
Hello, I'm Ray Noyes, Mayor of Tullahoma. I want to thank the citizens of Tullahoma who've been following the CDC guidelines for helping prevent the spread of COVID-19. You've been wearing your mask, you've been getting your vaccinations, and I'll tell you, it's working. Today, our positivity rate is less than 5%. That's the lowest it's been since the earliest days of our pandemic. So, now I want to urge each of you to continue to follow these guidelines, and together, let's get this pandemic behind us and get our country back to the old normal where we need to be. Thank you.
We tend to lose our motivation when we have something that's chronic, but you've got to do what you can early on as you can. After I'd exercise like that, I would have a lot of energy to do housework or whatever I needed. Well, I would recommend it highly to anyone at any degree of Parkinson.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Welcome back. At this week's Tullahoma Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting, Mayor Ray Noyes read a proclamation celebrating the 70th anniversary of Arnold Engineering Development Center. Colonel Garrett was there to receive the honor and thanked Mr. Noyes.
The proclamation is in recognition of Arnold Engineering Development Complex for their 70th anniversary. Colonel Garrett is here to hear this tonight, and we're honored to have you with us this evening. So whereupon this year marks the 70th anniversary of the Arnold Engineering Development Complex, AEDC. Since its dedication in Tullahoma, Tennessee by President Harry S. Truman visit to Arnold Air Force Base to dedicate the site at Arnold Engineering Development Center in honor of 5-star General Harry Hap Arnold. And whereas the United States of America and its allies were victorious in World War II, General Harry H. Hap Arnold and other scientists knew how a research and development testing site was necessary for the future of the nation's air power. Whereas General Arnold tasked an advisory group led by renowned mathematician, engineer, and physicist Theodore von Karman to survey German research facilities, study them, and make recommendations on the direction and the future of aviation research. Whereas the result was a report toward new horizons, promising a facility for the study and development of jet propulsion, supersonic aircraft, and ballistic missiles. And that's including now with hypersonic vehicles as well. Whereas President Harry S. Truman landed on June the 25th, 1951 in the city of Tullahoma Airport, proceeded to Arnold Air Force Base, that was located at Camp Forrest Military Reservation in Middle Tennessee, and he dedicated the Arnold Engineering Development Center, named in honor of General Arnold, who had passed away the year before. Whereas President Truman stated, the scientists who work here will explore what lies on the other end of the speed of sound. This is part of our effort to make our air power the best in the world and keep it the best in the world. So whereas for the past 70 years, AEDC has been an important national resource and has contributed to the development and practically every one of the nation's top priority aerospace programs, with almost $12 billion in test assets and facilities, simulating flight conditions from sea to level 300 miles, and from subsonic velocities to Mach 20 hypersonic speeds. So now, therefore, I, Ray Noyes, Mayor of Tullahoma, Tennessee, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the 70th anniversary of Arnold Engineering Development Complex an important milestone in our city's aerospace heritage, and recognize the complex as a national asset in our nation's defense. So on behalf of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, as we now offer our congratulations for continued success and encourage all to attend the drive-through through the Hap Arnold Day 7th anniversary celebration that will take place at the Arnold Air Force Base on June the 26th from noon to 4 p.m. Jill Garrett, if you'll come up to the flag, I'd like to present this to you. One more. That was it. Jill Garrett,
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mayor Nose. Thank you, Alderman. Thanks for this proclamation recognizing what General Hap Arnold envisioned more than 70 years ago, and for the hard work that so many men and women have put in at AEDC for the past 70 years. We really would love to see all of you drive through and celebrate the heritage as we pull back the curtains a little bit and give you a sneak peek into some of the things that are going on there at Arnold Air Force Base, ensuring that our Air Force and Space Force of the future is second to none. Thank you again.
We appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you.
We'll be right back after these messages.
It is wonderful living here. I don't have responsibilities of a house. I don't have all the work that goes with a house. And you can just relax here and be happy.
There's no set thing that you have to do. However, the offerings that they give you, it's wonderful.
I think the biggest thing about Parkview that is most significant to me is that we are family.
So you've been meaning to do something healthy, commune with nature, get outdoors and meet new people. We have the perfect solution. Come hike with us. You can find a Tennessee Trails Association chapter near you, including Clarksville, Columbia Franklin, Highland Rim, Jackson, Knoxville, Oak Ridge, Memphis, Murfreesboro, Nashville, Plateau at Crossville, and Upper Cumberland. We're on the web at TennesseeTrails.org. It's fun, it's stress-free, and it's good for you. See you on the trails.
I had a knee replacement, so they've got me in Life Care, which I'm very, very thankful for. I couldn't garden, I couldn't do my flower beds, I can't chase my little dogs. I have been in several therapy sessions for knees and back, and that's the best therapist I believe I've ever been to. It's tremendous because I'm able to walk again, but if it wasn't for the care, I wouldn't be where I am.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Welcome back. Today we will continue our behind-the-scenes look at the reopening party at the Hands-On Science Center scheduled for this weekend.
You can see we got some of our cleaners in the background. We got some new part-time people that are coming helping us get set up. Over here we have our early engineering hall that we have revamped. We got Kayla freshening up our aquatic section over here. So we got our early engineering hall, our sight and sound hall, a whole bunch of new monitors up throughout the facility. We have new Chromecast devices where we're going to be displaying on all different types of displays. Speakers all throughout the place. Over there, we're going to have our silent auction going on during the event.
Cool.
Lots of cool stuff there. Let's see, all kinds of new outside stuff. We have our sound garden that's going in. We're moving more instruments out there. You can see we got the big whisper dishes up. We have our new outdoor cabanas. That was part of a grant that we received as part of the CARES Act.
Those cabanas are very nice too, by the way. Those are great.
Yeah, we're very excited about those. We're going to be able to utilize those for our take-home science kits. People can actually do them out in the cabanas when they pick them up if they want.
Great.
Speaking of take-home science kits, it's still in the progress right now, but we have a new special exhibit where guests can actually view our take-home science kit making room.
Oh, wow.
So like in the
See how it all comes together.
Like the big museums where there's an actual paleontologist working behind the window.
Yeah.
Our volunteers that are putting together our kits will be behind a window for the guests to see. Wow. And speaking of volunteers, we got lots of opportunities if you want to help put together these kits and things like that,
Oh,
just
yeah,
contact us.
You can always use more hands on deck, I'm sure. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. While we're talking about it, are there any sponsors or anything that you would really like to give a shout
absolutely.
out
NAS, National Aerospace Solutions, huge sponsor for the event, as well as CFC Recycling. A huge thank you to those two guys.
yeah.
We also have a couple supporters that we want to mention. It's the Women in Defense Tennessee Valley Chapter, Exchange Media, and Tullahoma Vision Associates.
There we go.
Absolutely,
All right.
yeah.
Great.
So definitely, huge thank you to them. They've been a great help.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic, and I love the animal display back here too. That's
we're
one of my
revamping
favorites.
that a little bit too.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Oh well, Sean, it's going to be a fun day.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And everybody, come on out. Bring the kids. It's going to be a great time. And again, it's give the folks what the times are.
Yeah,
again.
it's June 19th, 9 to 5. Like I said, most of the stuff is free. We got, some paid stuff, food, face paintings.
And donations are always
Donations
welcome.
are very welcome. We may even have a snake for that people can hold for a donation.
There we go.
Lots of fun stuff.
Well, Sean, it's going to be a great time, and really look forward to it. And thank you guys for all of the work that you do.
Thank you.
We really do appreciate it. We're looking forward to it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. More news leaders coming up after these messages.
Hi, this is Peter, and I work for the American Red Cross. During events like this, people are always asking how they can help. For just an hour of your time and a little stick in the arm, you too can help save a life. There's always a constant need for blood. Make an appointment with the American Red Cross and donate some blood. Call 1-800-RED-CROSS or go online to redcrossblood.org. Thank you.
The individuals with dementia, those with Parkinson's, those that have maybe mobility issues, need caregivers. Well, those caregivers are 24 hours a day at home, and they never get a rest. And if they have to go to work, they're kind of out of luck. So that's why Trinity came into existence 25 years ago, to allow the caregivers to have a safe center where they could put their loved ones, know they would be well cared for, stimulated, fed good nutritious meals, have activities to their level, and then the caregiver can stop by and pick them up and go on home and have some continuity into their life.
Welcome back. In this final segment of Jack Harmon's Lunch and Learn recently held at D.W. Wilson in Tullahoma, we hear about Army camp diseases the Union and Confederate doctors had to use at the camps to try to save soldiers' lives.
Now, the doctors had scores of camp diseases to contend with. I'll mention just a few. During the war, doctors had no medicine to effectively treat many illnesses. They could only make the patient comfortable and let nature take its course. Survival was pretty much dependent on the strength of the body immune system. Now, dysentery was a deadly intestinal disease that had no effective treatment. It was the worst disease killer of the war that had a 53% mortality rate and caused 107,000 deaths. Now, typhoid was a deadly infectious intestinal disease that had no effective treatment. It had a 36% mortality rate and caused 65,000 fatalities. Pneumonia was a lung inflammation that could be mild to deadly. It had a 16% mortality rate and caused 37,000 deaths. Confederate General Stonewall Jackson was one of its victims. Malaria was one of the most common illnesses of the war. It could be successfully treated with quinine, but could still be a killer. The fatality rate was only 1%. But because of so many cases, 30,000 soldiers were lost. Now, diarrhea was likely the most common illness of the war. Normally only debilitating, but life-threatening if the body became severely dehydrated. It is estimated that at any one time, some 70% of the troops of both armies were suffering from diarrhea. Now, gangrene was a deadly disease that caused the flesh to die, and early in the war could only be treated by amputation. Fortunately, later in the war, surgeons discovered that bromine could be used to control the disease and keep it from spreading. Still, 30,000 lives were lost to gangrene. Smallpox was one deadly disease that had a prevention vaccine. Unfortunately, the vaccine was not always readily available. And once acquired, smallpox had no effective treatment. It had a 30% mortality rate and caused 4,700 deaths. Now, tuberculosis was a deadly lung inflammation with no effective treatment. It had a 50% mortality rate and caused 14,000 deaths. Now, yellow fever was not indigenous to the U.S. and was brought in by infected persons on ships. Unfortunately, the mosquito that spreads the disease is indigenous to the U.S. Now, yellow fever was more common in the southern coastal cities where infected persons would be brought in on naval blockade runners. After the Federals captured New Orleans, they essentially eliminated yellow fever by quarantining all ships from yellow fever areas before they were allowed into the city. Once acquired, yellow fever had no effective treatment and a fatality rate of 50%. One source reported 10,000 yellow fever deaths in the South during the war, but most of these were likely civilian rather than soldiers. And today there is a vaccine for yellow fever, but once you get it, there is no treatment still. Measles was one of the contagious childhood diseases that ran rampant through the camps early in the war. It could progress into a more serious disease if not treated. It had a 5% mortality rate and caused 11,000 deaths. Now, standard rations for both armies had no foodstuffs with vitamin C. Soldiers with scurvy usually were too weak to march, much less to fight. Raw onions were added to the food ration to prevent scurvy because onions had few problems associated with transport and storage. Grant once quoted that he would not go anywhere without his onions. Now, scurvy problems in land-based troops was a new revelation to me. I had always associated scurvy with naval ship crews. Now, camp itch was a torment for the soldier. It was debilitating, painful, and maddening. About 32,000 Union soldiers and likely a similar number of Confederate soldiers had to be hospitalized because of complications arising from the disease. Infection was the curse of the wounded soldier, and the wound did not necessarily have to come from the battlefield. It could be just a minor cut or scratch incurred accidentally during normal camp life. Like the deadly diseases with no treatment, survival of wound infection usually was dependent on the strength of the body immune system. Doctors could identify 4 serious infections: pyemia, tetanus, hospital gangrene, and erysipelas. Now, if one became infected with blood poisoning, chances of survival were small. Like blood poisoning, diagnosis of tetanus was essentially a death sentence. Also, I just learned that if you have not had a true tetanus vaccination, a tetanus booster does no good. There's nothing in the body system to boost. Now, in hospital gangrene, the black spot that first appeared on the wound was about the size of a dime, but then it began to spread, usually quite quickly. Until bromine treatment was discovered, hospital gangrene was a death sentence unless an amputation could be performed. The cause was never identified, but no cases of hospital gangrene have been seen since 1867, so it is considered extinct today.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
It's not Invoice. It's not MSRP. It's not Christmas Day, although it may feel like it. It's the lowest prices in Middle Tennessee, period. Get to Stan McNabb Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or Stan McNabb Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac before these prices are gone forever.
All right, the cat's out of the bag at Carroll Street Liquor in Tullahoma. Now you know where to go if you're planning a get-together and want the ideal wine or spirit. Party planning can be stressful, but at Carroll Street Liquor you'll find everything you need. Mixers, gift sets, and all of your favorite spirit brands. So if you're feeling the pressure to pull off the ideal party, come to Carroll Street Liquor and select among the seemingly endless supply of wines, spirits, gift sets, and more. Your perfect party, it's in the bag with Carroll Street Liquors.
Welcome back. The Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency recently produced a video covering taking samples of aquatic life in the Duck River. Today we have part 1 in a 2-part series.
Hi, my name is Nathan Singer with the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, and today we're out doing a small stream survey. This is Carr Creek. It's a tributary to the Duck River right here in Normandy, Tennessee. So part of the diversity of the Duck River is the fact that it has so many tributaries, just like this one behind me, that kind of bolster its fish count, and different species occupy these little streams and interface with the larger river. So we used a backpack electrofisher. It's simply a backpack with some batteries that are hooked to 2 electrodes. One is positive and one is negative, and then we insert those electrodes into the water and engage the power, and it forces electricity from one pole to the other. Anything around in that area, fish-wise, will orient themselves to the positive pole and swim toward it, and eventually it will stun them, and we can pick them up and examine them and count them and determine sort of the stream health. Some of these species are indicators of water quality. So far, what we've examined today would indicate that this is a high quality stream and that it's in pretty good health and species balance. All right, we'll start with this guy first. Get him out of the net. I don't know if he'll go in the viewfinder or not. We'll try him. But this is a little darter. They do not have swim bladders. They are a benthic feeder. Darters are good indicators of stream health. This is a fantail. It's got 3 little dots back here that kind of come together. That's one way that I can identify it. And these long stripes indicate fantail to me. And then if you look closely on the top dorsal fin right here, that orange coloration, well, during the breeding season, the males will have little nodules on top and they look like eggs. So a female might come along and he's defending his territory and he's displaying, and those little nodules would resemble those eggs, and that female might think, hey, this guy is doing a really good job taking care of this nest. I think I want to deposit some eggs there. So it's a little trickery, but it's another way that these animals have adapted to reproduce. Let's see. This little fella, it's called a snub-nosed darter. It's still knocked out, so we won't put him in the tank. But you see how blunt his nose is? It sharply comes down, and it has these little W's along the side. In the summer in breeding plumage, these things are just brilliant. So they change color and shape depending on the season. This is one of the larger darters that we have in Tennessee, and it's a greenside darter. They get a little bit bigger than this. They might get as big as my hand. But very colorful this time of year, all the orange in its tail. The markings are again an indicator of that species, just the way it looks, and then plus its large size. Greenside darter.
And stay with us, we'll have your weather forecast right after these messages.
The food at Parkview, well, I haven't had a bad meal there yet.
The food at Parkview is absolutely scrumptious. I mean, it is really good. It's just like home cooking.
And then there are the cookies. Oh my, they bake cookies every day, and they are super.
The food is truly incredible, and it's like being on a cruise ship.
We're losing it, Doctor.
Not on my shift. Quickly, brush. Roller.
What a transformation. It's gonna be okay.
Okay, nothing.
At Paintworks of Tullahoma, we specialize in domestic emergencies with Martin Senior Paints. You can be the paint doctor too when you treat your home with Martin Senior interior and exterior finishes.
Doctor, we've got another one.
Got you covered.
Paintworks of Tullahoma. Come see the paint doctor, Stat.
Welcome back. We'll take a look at your weather forecast at this time, starting with your weather history on this day. Our record high was in 1936 at 100 degrees. The record low was in 1917 at 47 degrees. The average high for this day is 85 and the average low is 64. Clear for tonight with a low of 62. Sunny skies for Friday with a high of 89 and a low of 67. And storms are likely for Saturday with a high of 85 and a low of 66. And that's our News Leader report for this evening. We invite you to join us each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday evenings at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. for News Leader on 6. Stay safe and have a great night.